We're just okay and we play some
Movies.
games. We're just okay.
Movie
games.
watchers.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Okay Movies. I'm your host, BIGGIESIZE, and I'm joined by...
Gweedo.
And Wally.
Gentlemen, it's our first episode of 2019. How you guys feeling about it? Are you excited for this year?
Oh yeah, all the potential of a new year that it brings. I'm really stoked.
Yeah, it should be good. Good movie year. Lots of blockbusters.
Definitely. Any particular film you're looking forward to?
Fucking Avengers. Come on, man.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I know. That's definitely the one. In April, not too long. I'm really shocked that it was going to be that soon.
I'm also very curious to see how Star Wars goes. Because they could make a lot of moves with this.
Well,
they
I
could
mean,
just stay the course or be like, okay, yeah, maybe they're right. Like, we need to kind of revisit this and make it a little better.
Biggie, we should probably have a 2019 discussion because there's a whole bunch of movies, not now, but there's a whole bunch of movies that are like, let's see what happens. Like
right.
Glass, the culmination of all the Shyamalan movies of all the heroes of Mr. Glass and stuff, and split and turn into a hero or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Absolutely. No, I totally
Shazam's
agree.
coming out, which will probably be shitty. The real life adaptation of Dumbo, the reinterpretation of Hellboy, Dark Phoenix. I mean, there's a lot of wild cards at play right now.
Oh, that's interesting. I forgot about that Dark Phoenix
Godzilla.
movie. Yeah. Oh, that Godzilla. We actually saw a trailer of that not too a couple weeks ago. I think it dropped, and
yeah, they're
redoing.
Pretty
decent.
I think Pet Sematary is being redone.
Oh.
So I mean, there's a whole bunch of really weird reboots and things that should maybe not have been touched that have been touched that we're going to have to probably judge.
Right. No, I totally agree. And even getting on Guido's point about Star Wars, I saw there was a small leak that happened, and I mean, you can rank what, how quality the leak was, or if it's real or not, what have you, but it's just fun to speculate. There were some mock-ups of designs for posters and things like that supposedly leaked, and apparently the focus should be more on Kylo Ren and his followers, the Knights of Ren. I think that's what they call them.
Knights of Ren.
Which are, I believe they've mentioned in the past, I don't know if it's actually been mentioned in the movie, that those followers were, Luke Skywalker's previous disciples or Padawans or whatever, that followed Kylo after they killed everyone else at the Jedi village. And so that could be kind of cool. And also, there was a guy who supposedly said that he saw the trailer, which should be dropping pretty soon, from what sources say. And if you want to believe what he has to say, apparently he had made comments about the previous trailer for Last Jedi was spot on before it came out. So take this with a grain of salt. But they had mentioned that some of the imagery, it almost was starting to look like they were going for a Game of Thrones kind of style. And I found that to be kind of interesting. And I could see them doing that easily with the popularity of Game of Thrones and them, Disney, probably really look at that series and saying, this is what we would love Star Wars to be, especially since they have a streaming service coming out and they're wanting to start pumping out tons of shows. So, if they could kind of get into that, I don't know, that ideal or that concept of making that world and that kind of style, this, constant strife between people and situations going on, like what Game of Thrones has, or at least what I'm familiar with. I can see them go in that direction, but it's going to be fascinating to see because, I mean, honestly, we only have another, 12 months now until episode 9's out. So it's not too far. So we should be seeing that trailer soon. And I'm interested to see if some of the visuals he talked about will actually be there. You guys have any thoughts on that? What you would want to see?
Oh, man. I don't know. I don't know what I want from Star Wars.
I don't know anymore either. I mean, this thing's been beaten back and forth so much. There's going to be so many eyes on it. And there's been lots of ups and downs and weird nooks and crannies to the people hating on the actors and the actresses and the counter blowback to that and the unnecessary bullshit of nerds swinging fists at each other. And I'm not gonna. I've said it before. I prefer the Star Wars story movies. they seem to embody the spirit of the films way more than the series has done. I don't have a problem with what they've done with Star Wars as the new trilogy. I just think they're not good. And I don't say that because they've ruined Star Wars, that they've reinterpreted something. I like some of the character ideas they've done. I don't question any of the choices they've made per se. Like, this is terrible. Why did they ruin Star Wars? I just don't think they're that great of movies. They're good bubblegum popcorn, like maybe once or twice, but again, I'm not going back to see them over and over again like I did for the originals, which is sad, but I'm not going to knock the film for it. So everyone's going to be criticizing, looking for faults and pluses and minuses. It's going to be nuts. I don't know what to ask of it.
I think I'll just walk into episode 9 with a perpetual shrug on my shoulders.
You have to.
Yeah. Agreed. No, ultimately, I think they screwed the pooch a bit with Last Jedi. Even though I enjoyed the movie as a whole, I felt like with character motivations and stuff being so muddled as they were, unlike what would you call it? Empire Strikes Back. Sorry, I totally had a brain fart. Where they kind of built those characters up, where they already had a great foundation. It got muddled in Last Jedi. So going into episode 9, I don't care about their outcomes. I'm interested to see how it wraps up and how they decide to continue it. Are they going to say, okay, brand new trilogy? Are they going to double down on the single films, which I highly doubt they'll do that? It will more likely be another trilogy. Are they going to try to loop in some more of the shows they have planned, which I believe, they call it Disney Plus. That's supposed to be coming out later this year. And they already have like one or two. We know at least one Star Wars show. I think it's The Mandalorian. And we don't know what time that takes place. It has to do with a bounty hunter from Mandalore. He does something. Who knows? So we're still waiting to see about that. Or even if they're going to plan another Star Wars story film to try to tie it into the films. We don't know. They kind of wiped the slate clean after Solo flopped, which is disappointing because it was pretty decent. I think
now, here's the word. I liked Solo a lot.
It was great. No, they definitely did a good job capturing the spirit, and it was just a fun movie to watch. So I'm the same way. Who knows? I'm interested to see in it. It's Star Wars. It's always a great cinematic film to watch in the theater. But, I can't see them doing a worse job. I think maybe they'll either get back to middle ground or, hell, maybe they'll blow our expectations away. I don't know. I'm down for it. I'm down for it. We'll see what Abrams has in store, but... How about... Oh, no, actually, before we get into our list of films, have you guys watched anything recently that you enjoyed or thought was crap? I watched one thing, but I might go on a rant for a bit, so you guys let me know first. What did you all see?
Oh, boy. That's a good question. Boy. What did I watch that I was just, like, not too invested in? I can't think of it. Just to go how forgettable it is.
But I'm not invested, or
what?
Does it have to be like not invested in at all, or
no? Just what was the last thing you watched?
It's actually going to be almost my movie of the year, and I unintentionally stumbled into it. It's Leave No Trace.
Ooh,
sure.
Okay.
Based on the book My Abandonment. It's about a veteran and his daughter living out in the woods, and it turns a very just fragile and beautiful and intimate study in the nature of the notion of free will versus what's best for living your life, and the right to be left alone versus what we owe each other from a communal aspect. A lot of themes about individualism and being outside the margins, looking in, and vice versa. And it's delicate and beautiful. I wasn't expecting that, and it's really good. And I recommend it. But that kind of took me by surprise. I saw that last week.
Nice. Yeah, I have that on my list. I downloaded a few sleeper Oscar looks.
Do you know its pedigree?
I don't.
I looked it up.
I know a little bit about it, but not much.
Well, it's the creator, author / I think director, but did Winter's Bone.
Oh, yeah. I was aware of that.
And I think one other one too. And this is kind of an amalgam of both of those two. And
yeah, it looks good.
I really liked it. I really, 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 really liked it.
I watched The Death of Stalin.
I just saw that too, actually. Did you like it?
Yeah, it's that time of year where there's a lot of those like ones that flew under the radar but are really good movies.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize it was the only reason I watched it is because it's the guy who did Veep, and I worship that show. And
it was
awesome.
so good. It was
so
good.
good, so good.
It was super funny. The whole movie up until like the last 15 minutes, where it gets very claustrophobic and just like intense, and then you're left with like a kind of feeling. But it's so funny. It's a comedy.
It's so him though, like the ending. It's very Seinfeldian almost. The kind of non-ending after all the nonsense. It's very dark, but also funny. It's like really dark but funny. I really liked it a lot, and the fact that they let everybody speak in their own regional accents, native to Gweedo,
great.
was fantastic.
You got the general of the Red Army coming in with a fucking Yorkshire accent.
And Steve Buscemi is like a Brooklyn accent. I believe he's like Khrushchev or something.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's
Michael Palin.
That sounds
I highly
awesome.
suggest it. It's really good.
So, what exactly is it? Is it just the story of the last days of Stalin, or is it just kind of a
it's
story? Or?
It's a satirical look at the last of the death of Stalin and how his closest advisors react to that news. Because Stalin was such an overbearing,
horrible
tyrant, and everybody was afraid of everything. And then when they see that he's dead, they all react in certain ways. You know, some of them are faking this, sadness for the loss of a great leader, while others are plotting to try and take power. And it's a fun. It's super funny. The dialogue is snappy, and they're going back and forth. There's so many quotable lines in it too. It was really good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It basically
that's awesome.
it talks about how, like, even in his shadow, the little bits of Stalin's regime left, because you have to understand he was, in charge of things for nearly 3 decades, murdering millions. So there's like this little bit of Stalin left in everybody. Like the scheming, the plotting starts almost instantaneously.
Yeah,
and
they're in the room with his corpse, and they're still unsure if they should say anything that demeans his rule.
And then without giving anything away, one of the characters is like one of the power players who's responsible for, like, drawing up the list of people who need to die because they're enemies of the state. Right before Stalin dies, his name's on that list, and he thought he was just fucked. And now this happens, and it's part of the comedy and part of the horror of it all, really. And it's a good movie. You should check it out, man.
Oh, I would love to. Is it out in theaters, or did it just release to Netflix?
I think it came out back in October, so it's out on.
Okay,
you can rent it, I think.
Interesting. No, that sounds really good. No, I wish I watched your guys' movies. Excuse me. Sorry, getting over a cold a bit, so I might cough a little bit. So please forgive me.
I wouldn't exactly call Leave No Trace an upper, though. So just fair warning.
Okay. That's fair. It sounds way better than the film I watched, which I don't know if I'd call it an upper. I don't really know what I would call it. It's a movie called The Lobster.
Oh, sure.
And,
yeah, is that the one where everyone has to, like, mate up or they turn into an animal?
Yeah, but I like the concept. I really like the concept, but it's an A24 film, and they make all these. They did Swiss Army Man, and they've done all kinds of films like this, where it's kind of like the point they're trying to get to. Sometimes it's done really well or kind of clever, but other times it feels like they're beating you over the head with it. And this was a time where I felt like they were beating me over the head with it, and it wasn't clever, or wasn't as interesting as it could have been. And maybe that had to do with the length of the film. But the whole thing's talking about relationships, and they live in a society where apparently you have to be either with a man or a woman or homosexual, whatever. You got to be with somebody, because if you're not, I'm taking it from what the story told me, you have to go to one of these places and find someone new. And if you don't, get turned into whatever animal you want to be. and that's kind of the world they live in. And so you're following this guy. He gets broke up with his wife, and he's going there, and they keep on like, you know, trying to do things for them to meet other people. And there's weird things about him, because one thing he keeps asking people is, are you short-sighted? Because he wants to see someone who's short-sighted like him. And then that kind of plays on the fact that he himself is short-sighted in his goals. And then later in the film, he meets someone, and they're being with each other, and she gets blinded by this other person, so it's basically like she's blinded by love, and then he decides that he wants to blind himself, so they're both in love. It's themes like that. It's just like, oh my God, just get over it. Like, I feel, I don't know, I just feel kind of like either the people making it are thinking they're way more clever than they really are, or they know how silly they're being, but they just kind of messed up with other parts of the film. Mainly its length. Because I felt like by about the halfway mark, we were like, okay, we're getting close to the end. They've hit on all these themes. It's kind of interesting. But then it's like, oh my God, I've got another hour and a half to go. And it's just still hitting those same themes over and over again, over the head. And I don't know. I love the concept. The acting was pretty decent. Who's it? Colin Farrell, I think is his name. He's a great actor. I really like him a lot. But I don't know. I love on paper, I loved everything about the film, but in execution, it just felt rough.
Everything I've heard about that movie is that it's the audience walks out of it pretty divisive. Like either you love it or you're just like,
I think it comes down on where you and can you handle absurdist rhetoric when it gets into like the real margin area?
Right.
I can't. I'm as much as I love trying to be experimental, that kind of dry absurdism does not sit with me at all. I need to be a little bit more entertained, I guess.
Yeah, I watched the trailer and read a review or two, and I was like, I think I'll just stay away from this one.
Honestly, this would have been perfect as a short film. Like, it would have been, but it's nearly, I think it's almost an hour, 45, 2 hours long. I guess that's normal length ultimately, but still it feels too long. Like, there's a lot of those, establishing shots where nothing's happening. It's just kind of setting the mood. That's great. You can totally do that. But you need to keep, some content going, at least keeping you invested. By about halfway in the film, you've pretty much seen all the tricks the film has, but you still got another half to go, and it just doesn't add on to it. It's a bummer. It really is kind of a bummer because the premise is just so neat. But I don't know if I can't recommend it to anyone, because basically what you see in the trailer, that's pretty much the movie. You don't see anything else new happen. A couple little funny things here or there, but it's a bit of a disappointment. I was a bit disappointed by it. But it's free on Netflix and everywhere. So if you got nothing else to do, definitely check it out. Who's the director who did like Bottle Rocket and movies like that? I always forget his name.
I don't know. I was going to mention though that one of the recent buzz movies is the next movie from the guy who did Lobster.
Wes Anderson.
Oh, really? Wes Anderson. Thank you.
Wes Anderson. Yeah, Wes Anderson. It does have a Wes Anderson vibe to it.
Yes. And unlike The Lobster, Wes Anderson, I think he understands. And I think he's grown to understand it more as he's gone on.
I think he understands whatever he wants to understand, and everyone smiles and nods.
That's true. I agree. And I applaud him for that. Same thing for Tarantino and all those people. Like, they can make good and interesting films. This felt like a film by someone who really likes Wes Anderson, but just doesn't have the same skills. Because he can make a film like that. I mean, all of his films are ultimately kind of like that, with just various amounts of, what would you say, oddness to them. But I feel like he's still able to weigh them correctly to make a good movie from begin to end, where it's interesting and you're compelled to watch. Whereas this one they felt like they front loaded too much and kind of just left it to just its whimsy at the end, which it just feels like you're watching like a tumbleweed just roll by or something. It's not that interesting. It's moving, but it's not interesting.
Well, if you want to roll the dice, his next movie is in theaters right now, and I wanted to see it because I love historical period pieces, but I'm worried it's going to be like that again. But
Sure.
if in case you're curious, dude, it's called The Favorite, and it operates
Oh,
off the supposition, the historical supposition that Queen Anne was gay, and there was like a suitor kind of like a private relationship going on behind the scenes at the palace.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I would give him another shot. I see where he was going. That's all I ask. I like seeing where you're going, even if you mess up. Let's try it again. And maybe he's a skilled director. I don't know what he's done in the past. This is my, far as I know, the first film I've ever seen by him. But good attempt. But yeah, I'll have to check that one out. Well, why don't we jump into our best films of 2018 talk? So first off, let's just talk about a film that you've seen that maybe we didn't talk about on the podcast. Gweedo, any film you saw that we didn't talk about that you'd say you just really, really enjoyed this year?
I mentioned it briefly. It's a movie called Eighth Grade.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. Yeah,
I enjoyed it a lot, mostly because it just made me feel things.
dude, the actress sold it like 100%.
Yeah. It's a really, really good film. And it will make you feel things, generally not good things, but the whole time, I'm sitting there with my hands on my face, peeking out through the fingers. And,
I love that kind of stuff.
even the horror movies that came out this year didn't do that to me. So I had a good time watching that movie.
I'm a little surprised. I guess you really do enjoy those films that are kind of like make you feel a little cringy or a little uncomfortable. Because like talking to you about it, because you mentioned the same thing, I'm like, oh, he must not have liked it very much. But with some of the other films we've talked about, it sounds like that's kind of your thing.
Yeah, it puts you in the moment. That's what movies should do, right? It should make you feel for the characters.
Sure.
And
sure.
If it elicits such emotions from me that's fucking stone wall, then it's got to be pretty good, right?
Very nice, very nice. Well, any other honorable mentions you want to throw out there?
Oh boy, yeah. Wally, you got any?
Yeah. I was leaving no trace. I mentioned that. I was going to say The Death of Stalin, but you kind of beat me to. I enjoyed The Avengers, of course, and I think the only other movies I actually happened to catch in theaters, I think I saw. I think would you say that A Quiet Place earns a spot here, or is that too?
Go for it. No, go for it.
Whatever
I just
you
thought.
Want.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
I think that was probably the other one that really kind of stood out to me as something very, very unique. And if I could pick something from the documentary category, I'd say Won't You Be My Neighbor, the Mr. Rogers documentary, was extraordinarily touching and heartfelt and educational. And I wish more people saw it so we could be reminded about how we need to be decent to one another.
Sure. No.
Shut the fuck
Voices.
up.
Very nice. Isn't there supposed to be a Tom Hanks led Mr. Rogers movie coming out?
God, I
Is
hope
that...
I think so. Yeah, it plays almost everybody.
Yeah, I was thinking that he had one in the works. Do
you guys know what it's called?
That as well. No,
shit.
I thought it was coming out this year.
It's some colloquialism of the show, like The Good King or something.
Okay. I'm excited to see it. I don't know much about it, but I'm sure he'll knock it out of the park.
Yeah, definitely. I think he'll do a really good job with that. I've been thinking about this one. Majority of the movies I've seen, at least that are in this year, were for the podcast, so I want to save those for our next segment. But I was just thinking about any movie I saw this year that I really, really enjoyed outside the pod. And I don't know why, but I just have to kind of keep coming back to Children of Men. Really loved that movie. I really loved it. I'd heard about it for years, long time, and just never was like, watch it later, whatever. The cover looks okay, but I was just mesmerized by that.
One of the few films where I ended up just crying for no reason towards the end. Like
it is. It's painful. It's very painful. It's just, I talk about with Millpool probably a little too much. I I went on about forever, but I just love those travel films, you know, especially in post-apocalyptic stuff where you just feel like you started at this one spot and you feel like you've just gone so long in such a little amount of time. And just by the end, you just feel exhausted. And especially with an ending like that, it's just painful. But I absolutely love those kinds of films. I just get to live in that world for a little while, even if it's bleak and depressing and very sad. It's just so different from what we kind of live in our everyday lives, and it's just so fascinating. And everyone does such a good job in that movie, and I couldn't say enough good things about it. I still can't. But I think if I was going to pick one, I'm sure I probably saw some others that were better, and probably some of the ones we saw on this list were probably better. But I just really like that one. Well, very good. Very good. Well, how about we get into this list? We watched a shit ton of movies this year. And honestly, I kind of love them all. Okay.
No, it was fun. At least
I watched
50
a
movies.
shit ton of movies this year. Yeah, I guess I should clarify that a bit. Okay, so we have two lists. We have our list of movies that we watched in 2018. Now, these will be films that were not in 2018, were not made. They're older films. And we also have our list of movies that we watched that were released in 2018. We've broken them down into two categories. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through each list and pick out the best film of that category, the just okay film of that category, which means it's not great, not bad, it's middle of the road, and the worst movie of that category. And then once we go through both columns, then we're going to pit the best against the best, the just okay against just okay, and the worst against the worst. And then we'll know 2018 which one was our best, just okay, and worst. So it should be fun. I think we'll have a good time. So
you kids love battle royales.
Oh boy, this is a big one. They are all across the board. All right, let's start with movies that we watched in 2018, but were older films. This is a fun little one. I'll go ahead and run through the list. We watched Dungeons and Dragons, Batman and Robin, It Follows, Nightmare 3, Old Dogs, Swiss Army Man, Monster Squad, and Alien. So,
which one was the fever dream that was like had like two guys who knew each other as kids and now they're older and
that's Old Dogs.
It's Old Dogs. I need to see that again. That was fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I don't think we need to talk about the best one on this list. It's gonna go to Old Dogs. All right, next one.
Oh no! Oh, that's. I mean, it's good, but oh man, I don't know, dude. Monster Squad is so much better. Like I would sit down and watch Monster Squad again. I don't know if
I'll
I
sit
do
down and watch Old
again.
Dogs again. Oh, so
but
good.
No, you like it because it's bad. It'd be the same way if I was like, Battlefield Earth is the best film that we watched. You'd be like,
Okay,
no,
so-
that movie's shit.
So we're picking just the best film here, right?
Well, it's
Or
what we
what
would
are the-
consider to be the best.
Okay, it's not the most enjoyable to us personally, because I have
Well,
memories
that's how you would define
associated.
best. Sure.
I have memories associated to Old Dogs. You know, lots of good
Sure.
times watching Old Dogs. When we watched it as a group, it was a fun time.
Sure.
I had more fun watching Old Dogs than any other fucking movies on this list.
All right. Well, Wally, let's go here. Wally, which one would you pick? Because that
As
might
my
end our.
favorite?
Which one do you think was the best?
Well, I don't want to be
Or that
like,
you
oh yeah,
enjoyed
it's
the
Old
most.
Dogs, fuck everyone, but it's Old
No.
Dogs. I mean,
Go for it. If it's Old Dogs, go for it. It's your choice.
well, it is. I mean, it's against Dungeons and Dragons and Batman and Robin and like fucking Nightmare. Yeah, it's Old Dogs. What the hell do you think?
Hey, right now you're sounding just like Gweedo, man. So that's okay. Go for it.
No, Monster Squad's really good.
It is, but
It's-
if I had to like, okay, that's the contender then. Monster Squad versus Old Dogs,
Yeah.
Okay,
which
I'm fine
which
with
is still
cutting
pretty
that.
fucked up.
It's very fucked up. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Those are our two contenders for best. I'm going Monster Squad, baby. It's a good film.
Monster Squad was good. Lots of nostalgia tied into that movie. But it's a movie you return to maybe every decade. Old Dogs, I can watch at least once a year. I love Old Dogs. Yeah, I think we should too.
All right, Wally, you're the tiebreaker, man. What do you want?
Old Dogs.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What have we come to? What have we come to? 2018. Oh, all right. Best one is Old Dogs. Man,
Yeah.
All right, then. Next one is let's do Just Okay in the Middle. That's fun.
Okay.
The worst film. What is the worst film on this list? I'm gonna have to throw out. Oh boy, this is actually kind of tough.
For me, it's got to be Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, no, Batman and Robin. No, Dungeons and Dragons is actually the worst movie. I can't believe I'm having to decide between two piles of shit. But I guess Batman and Robin is a little bit better because it's actually a coherent film that has a beginning and an end.
We watched Dungeons and Dragons at the early onset of 2018, and I think that it's easy to forget how miserable it was.
It was really bad, man.
Oh, I loved it. It was great. It had dragons. The CGI is not the best, but the story's kind of cool. And there's a lot of great. I guess
what part of the story is
overacting?
Cool? Yeah. What part of the story is cool? I want on paper. I want this on paper. What?
Well, let's see. Oh shit! I kind of don't remember what they were doing. The adventure, the
fucking dragon wand or something, right?
That's right. Yeah, but the bad guy was cool. Yeah, man, that was good shit. I liked it. But no, I'm gonna have to agree because I like Batman and Robin more. Dungeons and Dragons would definitely be the worst one. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So now, what is our just okay film? Wasn't great, wasn't bad, about in the middle. I'm gonna have to go with Swiss Army Man. I think it was a pretty good, it had its good parts, its bad parts, but I feel like it set pretty well in the middle of overall pleasure or enjoyment.
Yeah, this is actually the tougher one. And when we do our Game of the Year episode on the Just Okay Gamers podcast, justokgamers.com, I always have trouble picking the most just okay thing.
Sure.
So I'm going to just, do you mind if I talk through it here?
No, please go for it.
Okay, here we go. Dungeons and Dragons is already the worst. Old Dogs, of course, is the best. All right,
clearly.
So there's two eliminated. Batman and Robin is a pile of shit, so that's going to go down to the bottom. We're going to eliminate that one, okay?
Sure.
So what's remaining is It Follows, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Monster Squad, and Swiss Army Man. Monster Squad's good. I like Monster Squad. We're going to get rid of that one.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I'm almost inclined to agree with you there, Biggie, that Swiss Army Man would be the most just okay out of the remaining movies here. Because I liked It Follows, and I like Nightmare. But Swiss Army Man's just kind of, it's just kind of forgettable and I don't know, he farted. Yeah. That's what you remember.
Yep. Absolutely. Wally, what are you thinking, my man?
I didn't see Swiss Army Man, I don't think.
No, Daniel, Harry Potter.
Yeah, I must have missed that one. But so I have to kind of recuse myself from including that one in there.
That's fine.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I don't really have I guess if I have to have a surrogate, then I would probably say Monster Squad.
Okay.
No, but it's actually good, but I think it's better than the other ones. It's in the middle.
Okay.
Sure. No, I think that's definitely a fair choice. Well, Swiss Army Man's our just okay pick. So, best film is Old Dogs.
Yeah.
Man, really? Old Dogs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worst film is Dungeons and Dragons, and middle of the road, the just okay film is Swiss Army Man.
I want to make it clear that I'm not saying it's the best film, not only because it was funny and I enjoyed it, but It's compared to what we're dealing with here. You're literally sifting through a giant mountain of excrement and finding like a seashell or something. Well, this is something. So it's like, so this is not shit. So ergo, it is better than shit.
Also, I'm just going back to the night that we watched it as a group.
We had a fun time.
We had 10, 12 people in there. Everybody's laughing, making fun of it. It was a great, great time. And I'll remember that over how I'll remember, how Freddie killed the girl in a mental institution.
Sure. No, agreed. No, I think those are all three very good choices. All right, well, we get to move to our next category. This should be fun. These are movies that we watched that were released in 2018. So we saw them in theaters or when they came out in DVD. Either way, it came out in 2018. That list includes Blockers, Deadpool 2, Infinity War, Mandy, Solo, A Star Wars Story, Ready Player One, Black Panther, and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
I think you need to we need to clarify that these are all movies we talked about on this podcast. So
yes.
if you missed one of those episodes, you should go back and listen to it.
Yes, very excellent point, Gweedo. Yes, all these are films we watched on the podcast, so you can definitely go back and listen to our thoughts on those, and I think they're all really good episodes. Highly recommend them. All right, Gweedo, what are you thinking for best film?
It's pretty easy for me from this list. And it's our number one rated movie on the IMDb list that you've been keeping. So there's no reason not to pick it, and that is, of course, Infinity War.
Absolutely. It's a tough. It's tough because that one just stands out so much. And honestly, any other film I've looked at that came out this year, I'm not sure it could ever stand up to Infinity War, just in how good it was made and how technically challenging.
It's a movie that's one of those once in a lifetime, like, stars align, the IP,
yes,
the franchise, the money invested in it, the quality of the actors, the build up.
It's incredible. You're absolutely right. I mean, none of the main people died. They're all there. The stories all aligned perfectly. It made sense. They were all in top form. The writing was spectacular. I think gave everyone the right amount of screen time and the right amount of things to do, except for maybe the Hulk. But other than that, it's a really well-made film, and just can't say enough good things about it. So,
I remember leaving
the same thing.
I remember leaving the theater after watching that, and it was opening weekend, and everybody's going into the theater before it starts, all happy, excited to see a new Avengers movie. What's gonna happen? Oh, it's gonna be so cool. We're gonna get to see Hulk do stuff, and Thor's gonna come around and shit. And then the movie ends, and the credits play, and everybody just walks out like with their heads down. It's just quiet. There's
That's
kids asking their parents if there's gonna be another one.
I love that, though. I love it because that's our moment. Like, you don't get many like that. And like, one I regret being too young for was Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, when the scene where Spock saves the Enterprise, and it's like, I will always be your friend, live long and prosper. That they didn't, because they thought everyone was, Spock's gonna die in this one, guys, because it leaked, right? And in the press. So everyone's like, oh God, Spock's going to die. Okay, well, whatever. And like, they kill him, quote unquote, during the Kobayashi Maru sequence. But, oh wait, no, he didn't really die. That was just a fake thing to show that the guy fucked up, blah, blah, blah. It's a Starfleet training simulation. It's not real. And then they do the thing at the end where, and then firing him out of the torpedo tube, but everyone's crying. They said, walking out of the theater, it was like a fucking morgue. And they thought they did the worst thing ever to Star Trek, but it was one of the most like impactful moments of cinema, especially if you're a Star Trek fan. And we got that moment with Spider-Man, not wanting to go and watching friends and allies leave. And I mean, what do you say about kids asking their parents what's going to happen next? That's a moment, good or bad, that they're going to look back on and go, wow, that was awesome. You don't
it's
get
a,
Yes.
it's an Empire Strikes Back for a new generation. You know?
Yeah.
Vader didn't just defeat Luke; he defeated the audience, the people that loved him, just like Thanos did to the audience that was watching that movie. It's super cool. It's something that's fun to be a part of.
Well said. Well said. Punch to the gut, but it felt so good. And I cannot wait to see what happens. So, Wally, I guess you're saying the same thing, Infinity War?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Then our best film that we watched that released in 2018 is Avengers Infinity War. Now, just for the fun of it, because I knew that was going to be the one, and none of these other films would be able to contest it. What do you think the one right below that would be?
Oh, Biggie.
I'm going to swerve into...
I'm curious. I'm curious.
I'm going to swerve into Biggie's camp on this one. And I'm going to
say Solo.
Solo for me, yeah.
Yeah. Easy. Solo was so good.
Well, not easy, because Black Panther was a great film. But I don't want to give it to Marvel twice. And I think Solo was an unexpected joy to watch. It was a popcorn Star Wars movie, which is what they should be fucking making for the actual trilogy. But that's a different thing. And I've already said that. But yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
Solo
was so good.
Solo's tough for me because it's pretty much, besides Blockers on this list and Mandy, is the only one that I haven't seen in a theater. I just watched it on my computer. So I don't have that theater experience, which I think heightens movies. It takes it up. If a movie you watched was a 7, if you saw it in the theater, it might be an 8. You know? So, like, I just sat on my computer, clicked it on, watched it passively, would pick up my phone occasionally. Like, it just takes you out of the movie a bit. And I think I did myself a disservice with that, with watching Solo like that. I wish I would have seen it in theaters, but I did enjoy it a lot. But man, I don't know. I had a lot of fun with Deadpool too, man.
Deadpool was very funny. I liked it.
And it was the first rated R movie I took my daughter to see. So we got that memory implanted in our heads for eternity now.
Aw.
So yeah, I'm going to have to pick Deadpool 2.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, then. Well, let's jump to our worst film on the list. And we've got a couple of prime candidates here. You know, in all honesty, if Jurassic World or Ready Player One were not on this list, I would be saying Black Panther all day long. But I can't.
You thought Blockers was better than Black Panther?
Oh yeah, I love
Get
Blockers way more than Black Panther was just. It's
what?
okay.
It was what? It was really, really good.
No, it was okay. It was middle of the road for me. I am certainly not. We went over this on that episode. I am not racist.
It is middle of the road in terms of Marvel movies, but it's not a bad movie. And it's not. It's not even it's a good movie, I guess. I have similar feelings towards it. Like, it's not what the hype
think it was edited poorly.
I think the hype is not deserved at all. I think some of the performances are very not good. Yes. But man, to say Blockers was better.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
I had fun with Blockers. I didn't really have a great time with Black Panther. Was fine, and maybe it's a bit hyperbolic of me to say Blockers is better. They would be very close to each other. But I just enjoyed Blockers way more. Black Panther just felt like it felt like how Ant-Man felt for me. It was just another Marvel film they just threw in there. It's not the best, but it's definitely not as bad as some other stuff that's being released, i.e. look over at DC. But it's just not great. And I don't like being an outlier. I don't mind being an outlier, but I feel like with so many people like really enjoying it, and I am an outlier.
No, you're not an outlier. You're just wrong.
Oh, I'm not. Hey, I'm totally fine with being wrong. Absolutely. It wouldn't be the first time. But everyone just enjoyed it so much. I don't think I've ever been like almost to the bottom of that, of that graph just showing I just didn't enjoy it. And it's just, it just didn't hit me. I just really did not like it. I did not like his character. I did not like how, the one thing that killed me so much about it was his suit. That's the part where all the feelings I had for the film, like, is he going to be able to take the bad guy down? Is he going to be able to handle all this stuff that's thrust upon him when they're like, oh no, it's okay if you get shot. In fact, it's good that you get shot because then you just become super strong and shoot everyone away from you. Like, okay, great. He can get shot. I mean, Iron Man can get shot. Even, what's his name? Thor could take some damage, although he is super fucking strong. But we got this guy who I already don't like because he's not interesting at all. He can now get shot and hit all he wants and it's actually okay. Like, that just bottomed out my expectations. And
I don't think
none of the fights were neat.
I don't think they spent enough time trying to explain why Wakanda could do all this. Yeah,
right,
I know it sounds, but there's a reason. Like, they have been like perennially important and wealthy for almost longer than anyone else has been around either. They are a hyper advanced civilization. They kind of hinted at it, but like these guys can whip out some pretty crazy shit.
But that just doesn't make for a good movie, when the person you're either rooting for or going against is so out of your league that you really don't have a chance of taking them down. Like, I don't want to see that movie. Even in Infinity War, which is what that was supposed to be, they had a chance. They fucked it up, but they had a chance. But like Infinity War was just about Thanos going around. He already had all the gauntlet. He was super powerful. We can't do anything. We're all just going to die. It's okay, but it's not a great movie. But it's even worse when you're looking at this guy
there's a
who
metaphor
can
to that.
barely
Why
act.
there's a reason why Thanos is such a catalytic figure. Like, why it's in terms of creating that kind of drama is because they're trying to reinforce the point. Like, you can't always win every battle. And
Sure.
They needed to develop a strategy where they lost in order to win. So I mean that's the whole point in a way to the why they did it that way. He was unstoppable. So there's an inherent drama to that. And I don't think Black Panther's unbeatable. I mean, I used to read some of the comics. He can be stopped through a variety of methodologies that are at play. You just didn't see them in the film because they decided to go on an internal strife angle with it for some reason as a launching pad for introducing the character. But he has his own share of villains. Like, I think Doom, for instance, who is kind of an obliquely, he's kind of like out there in limbo because of the earlier IP shit. But Doom is a foil for Wakanda constantly. And here, that is an equally old nation comprised of a megalomaniac with unlimited resources and power, as like a counterpoint. But you don't see that, so they didn't really give the Black Panther universe a really fair, comprehensive look for the uninitiated to really understand or appreciate. I can understand why he looks like that. I can understand why he looks like an unbeatable yawn fest. And and Gweedo's right, the actors didn't really knock it out of the park in some places either. Right.
No, and I really don't like to even have that point. Like it because I like with everything, I see where they were going for.
I went full comic nerd with that. I shouldn't, but that's not fair to the movie, but I went full comic nerd and I apologize for the rant on that. But that's kind of a reason why.
No, I love hearing that insight about it because I don't know shit about any of the comics. What they showed me on the screen is all I know. And the more I hear about the expanded universe of Black Panther, I would have sort of hoped they would have done something like that to make up for the lack of character. Like, I see what they're going for. They have all this power, these riches, this technology, but they have this one person who's related to him who just fell to the wayside. They didn't take care of him.
Yeah, exactly.
And he fostered this revenge, this hatred for his world.
It's both a fantastic and a bad introduction to Black Panther at the same time.
Right. No, I love where they were going for that. And I think I would have loved it so much more if I actually cared about the main character. Like, I feel like for me, that's where it fell apart. He was not charismatic. And that's not his fault. I think the writing has something to do with it as well. I think they kind of wrote him to be this very manly man character. That's okay, but when they're expected to kind of give some heart, and all this guy does is he's just very stoic. He beats people up with an unbeatable suit, at least in the film.
I want to follow up on that too. Did you watch?
Sure.
Are you basing any of your analysis on Black Panther on also his appearance in the Infinity War as well?
Not really.
Because he was
like
back.
a blink of the eye there.
There's a reason for that, because they filmed that first or at the same time. So they didn't know how big Black Panther was going to be. So they had a very restrained role for him in Infinity War.
I see.
But
And I'm
back
hoping.
to in the comics, like 8 years ago, and just to give you an idea of the kind of foils he has, like 8 years ago, there was a huge arc called Doom War, where Doctor Doom tried to overthrow the entire royal family of Wakanda. And it involves like a whole bunch of superheroes. Storm got involved. The Fantastic Four, of course, got involved. Even Deadpool makes an appearance. So it's like, it was a whole thing. So I just wish they could find a better way of just kind of showing the chinks in Wakanda's armor a bit more than they did here, other than an enemy from within, which I think poisons the well, but whatever.
Right. No, they tried. Hey, I'll give them that. They tried to do something slightly different. They just probably need to tweak it a bit more and get it right. But, it's a solid film. I don't want to say it's like, a big piece of crap. I think I may have actually said it was a big piece of crap in the review. I was joking a little bit. But it's just, it's an okay film. But anyways, I'm sorry, I took us off to a major tangent. Going back to our worst film, I'm going Jurassic World. I was bored to tears.
Yeah, Jurassic World is a giant piece of shit.
It was
terrible.
Very shockingly bad. Shockingly bad.
I wouldn't say it's shocking at this point. I think
it's
the
not
one before
now.
that was pretty bad.
Yeah, it wasn't great either, but this one, I just couldn't believe just how boring you can make dinosaurs. It was boring.
Right.
Oh, man.
Let's take the park out of Jurassic Park and put him in a mansion.
Exactly. So that's unanimous. It sounds like Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, the worst. Okay, then let's go the just okay film, the just in the middle. Honestly, I would be between Black Panther and Deadpool, but I just don't know which one I would go with. Wally, what are you thinking?
Which one's better? Sorry.
It'd be which one's in the middle. So what would be the just okay?
Black
film
Panther's in the middle for me then.
Okay. Gweedo, what are you thinking?
Oh boy, it's a good question.
And you
I think
can
I'm
walk
gonna
down
have
the
to
list
say-
if you prefer.
Yeah, all right, let's do it. All right, here we go. Blockers, I didn't much care for. That'd be lower. Same with Jurassic World, that's out of there, and Infinity War is out of there. So Deadpool 2 I enjoyed. We went over that. So that leaves Solo, Ready Player One, Black Panther, and Mandy. I enjoyed Solo, so we'll cross that off. And Ready Player One was... See, now we're getting into the just okay part of it.
I know.
Black
This is a
Panther,
tough
Ready
one.
Player One, and Mandy. We're all pretty in the middle of the pack here. But I guess I had more fun watching Black Panther and Ready Player One. That leaves Mandy in the middle here.
Interesting.
Mandy really is in the middle, I think.
Interesting. Well, I think I would still go with Black Panther. Wally, are you sticking with yours?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Very nice. So it looks like for our just okay film of movies released in 2018 that we watched, it's Black Panther. So we'll run down that list again. Best film, Infinity War. Worst film, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. And middle of the road, Black Panther. I was having a very hard time. I was just about to put Ready Player One. But I think I don't know. I would definitely put Ready Player One below Black Panther. That one was also just a disappointment, a bunch of missed opportunities. But but I do think Black Panther is a better film overall than it.
Yeah, I'd probably rank Ready Player One under Black Panther also.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, very good. All right. So now we've got our categories made, our films picked out. So let's duke them out. This should be very interesting. So starting with the best films for both categories. That is Infinity War and what was our best one? The first
Old
list?
Dog.
Oh,
yeah.
Of course I forgot about it. Of course I did. Oh boy.
That's
Well,
some rare Biggie shade right there.
I wonder if anyone has ever compared in the world Infinity War with Old Dogs. This has to be a first.
Yeah, probably. Oh man, Old Dogs is so good. It's so tough to pick.
Don't you do it, Guido. Don't you do it. Because Wally will go along with you, and I'll just be
No, I think I'd fight him on that one.
No, yeah, I think Infinity War is far superior movie than Old Dogs.
Very nice. Very nice. Wally?
Yes.
Infinity War, gotcha. I have to say the same thing. All right, so what would Old Dogs have to do to get on that level of Infinity War?
Oh boy, start a franchise and foster it for over a decade.
Yeah.
An Old Dog cinematic universe.
Oh my god! I don't even.
You got John Travolta
One of the
showing up
main
in the
actors is
post credits of.
It'd have to be like CGI Williams.
Oh god, that sounds great. All right, well, let's go with our worst films. So we had Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and Dungeons and Dragons. So which one out of those two is the worst?
Dungeons and Dragons.
And you see, I would say that too. But man, Dungeons and Dragons kept my attention so much more than Fallen Kingdom. Like, it comes down to, and it's difficult because we talk about how we rate these films by criteria. And, it's super subjective. Is it most enjoyed or most technically competent? But sometimes technical competency doesn't mean enjoyment. If you just have something that looks pretty, does that mean it's good on its own merit? And
but also there's really good movies that are great in every aspect, but they're not enjoyable to watch.
Exactly. It's tough. It's a tough line to toe. And that's where I would say, is Jurassic World overall a more competent film? Absolutely. I mean, absolutely, hands down, it is a more competently made film. But I hated myself watching it. Whereas Dungeons and Dragons, there was at least some ideas in there and some decent work put into it for some of the costumes and some of the designs. The CGI was god-awful, but that was early, but that's okay, kind of. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being in that world. I liked the characters for what they were. So the worst film between the two, I'd have to say, is Fallen Kingdom, because and what's even worse is I'm sure it had way larger budget and everything. And it still was terrible compared to Dungeons and Dragons, what they were able to do.
It's also there that you have to take into effect that with Dungeons and Dragons, you knew what you were getting into.
Sure.
The movie has been out for 18 years, and it's lauded as one of the worst movies made. So you're going into it like, okay, I have to watch this because we're going to talk about it on the podcast. So I'm going to try and find some joy out of it.
Right. Exactly.
And then it's the exact opposite with Jurassic Park, where it's a beloved franchise. Granted, some of the movies aren't really that good, but you go into it thinking, hey, I'm going to see these cool dinosaurs and stuff, and you got your hopes up, and it just doesn't deliver in that sense. So you have that disappointment from it. So right. I don't know. It's not fair for Jurassic World. I think if we would have waited and watched Jurassic World in 18 years.
But do you think even in... I see where you're going with that, and that's an excellent point you make, Guido. But I will counter-argue and say, even with that time passed, do you think if someone's going to start talking about bad movies, which one would probably pop up first, Dungeons and Dragons or Fallen Kingdom, as a film that they would want to watch?
Oh,
like if they're like, all right, let's watch a bad movie. I highly doubt 20 years from now someone's going to say, oh, let's watch Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Whereas I'm sure, just like how we did, 18 years, into the future from when Dungeons and Dragons came out.
He's building a case.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why people still show up to watch The Room and Rocky Horror. Well, Rocky Horror is actually a good film. People go watch The Room. It's a terrible film, but it's very memorable. Whereas I'm sure there's hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of terrible films that no one's even thought of. That's just laying out there. So
if you look at this, if you look at Jurassic World, it has all the same makings for what made it bad that Dungeons and Dragons has.
But it's not funny. It's not interesting. It's so dire. No one looks like they want to be there.
Dungeons and Dragons isn't funny. Dungeons and Dragons isn't interesting.
It's trash. It's total trash, man. It's unwatchable
bad.
garbage, man.
And maybe it's because we have a comparison. We always had the first Jurassic Park.
You had me,
and then when you look at Jurassic World, it's bad.
You had me about the whole,
we have nothing to compare it to.
If somebody had a choice between watching Dungeons and Dragons and Jurassic Park, they're gonna watch Dungeons and Dragons. I'm gonna be with you on that, but the movie's still trash.
Oh yeah, the movie's still bad. I totally agree with you there. I completely agree. It's not a good movie, but I'm saying think it's a more interesting film.
In 18 years, when we throw on Jurassic World, Jurassic World, and the CGI doesn't hold up, and there's a lot of scenes that are pointed out that are just like super weird and don't make sense. Like it has to go through that period, It has to have those audiences that go into it watching it for the intent of watching a bad movie, and it's so fresh that it hasn't had that yet.
I see where you're going. You know what? I'm going to mark my calendar 18 years from now. We're going to sit and watch Jurassic World, and we're going to see who wins this argument.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'll be 3 years old.
I'm going to put it in Google now. I'm going to make an email, a notification to all my addresses, just so I don't miss it. All right. So, it sounds like I'm voting Jurassic World. Gweedo, I'm assuming you're picking Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm picking Dungeons and Dragons.
All right, Wally, it's all up to you, my man.
Fuck you. Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, man. Harsh. So harsh.
I love you, Biggie.
Okay. I love you too, man. This is
Dungeons and Dragons, though, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. That sounds great. That's a fair argument. So, worst film for 2018 that we watched was Dungeons and Dragons. Now, here we go. The just okay film that we watched. Let's see. We are between Black Panther and Swiss Army Man. Boy, that's another odd combination.
How do we rate this as just okay? There's only 2 movies, It can't fall in the middle.
Oh.
But we could just say, I guess, the most... I don't know. How would you...
The most just okay? You can have
how would
one
you
that's called the most
criterize
just
this?
okay, and one that's... Well, I guess you would just say which one was just... I guess you kind of have an argument of which one was slightly better and which one was slightly worse. So the one that's either slightly better would go up a rank, and the other one would stay in the middle, and the other way around. Does that make sense?
I can...
So, like, for me, I think Swiss Army Man was ultimately not as good of a movie. Oh, no, I'm wrong. I'm actually completely wrong. Black Panther wasn't as good of a movie as Swiss Army Man. So I would say Swiss Army Man was just okay.
Really?
And Black Panther would just fall barely below that threshold.
See, I
thought it had some neat ideas. I like what they were going for. It was at least different. And
I'd chalk Swiss Army Man up to being worse than Black Panther. but Black Panther not being a just okay movie. I think Swiss Army Man would be the just okay movie. Because Black Panther has, for all its faults, it has some good points, and the good overweighs the bad, making it, in my opinion, a somewhat decent movie. While Swiss Army Man is just forgettable and not, I don't know, just not my cup of tea.
I see. Well, I mean, right now we consider, I don't see it being much different than like when we're saying the two best films. We're saying the other one's a good film too. It's just maybe slightly less or so. So, I mean, which one's just more of a just okay movie? If you think Black Panther kind of covers all of the spectrum more and Swiss Army just falls to pieces in a couple of places, then Black Panther would be the just okay film.
I'll in that case, I'll label Swiss Army Man as the just okay movie for me.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Wally, what are you thinking?
I didn't see Swiss Army Man, so
I
actually don't have an opinion on just okay for this one.
Okay.
I think. Yeah,
you don't have to have an opinion.
Yeah, I guess I would. I guess I'd abstain on this one. Abstain.
Okay. Looks like Swiss Army Man is our just okay movie of 2018. I think that's pretty fitting too.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty fitting because I think ultimately I would put Black Panther a little bit above Swiss Army Man. I think I said the opposite a little bit ago, but I've changed my opinion on that. So that sounds pretty good. Well, hey, if you have thoughts on, where would you rank some of the films we talked about? Do you agree, disagree? We want to know. Shoot us an email to justokmovies@gmail.com. You can also send us a tweet to @justokmovies. We love hearing your opinions. So please let us know what you think. Well, guys, I think that just about wraps things up. It's been a fun discussion. I've had a blast with this. Goodness gracious, we've watched all kinds of films this year, and I'm really looking forward to see what we watch this year. I think it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah. What are we watching next week?
We're watching Buster Scruggs. We've been pushing that one back for a little while, but we are going to watch it next week, damn it. We are going to do it. We'll probably also do a viewing. I don't know the date. I'll have to kind of see because I got some stuff going on next week. But if you want to know when we'll be doing a viewing, hop on Discord, discord.gg/justokgamers. And normally we'll put a post out there if we're going to be doing a viewing of one of the films that's coming up, or maybe just a random film night. So join on there to find out. It's a fun time. We have a good time on there. Well, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you all. I hope you all have a great beginning to 2019, and we'll see you all next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Happy New Year. Bye.
Love you. Bye-bye.